Today we're going to be talking about soybean growth and development. Growth and development for soybeans is pretty important because a lot of our agricultural production practices are hinged around different growth and development, and so to know when we can and cannot do certain practices, we really need to know what growth and development we're at. And so we're actually working on a national project to try to fine-tune our current growth and development nomenclature. And so the research plot behind us is one of those locations, and with about 5 other states, we're looking at growth state or maturity groups from 0.02 to 7.2 and trying to kind of fine-tune our growth and development nomenclature so farmers and consultants and industry personnel can have a little bit better definition of exactly what our growth and development on soybeans are.
Since we're encouraging, along with UAPB and Delta Pipe, to promote the use of pipe planter to conserve water, conserve energy, and conserve labor, and hopefully help farmers put more dollars in their pocket. Pipe planter basically is a program that's used with polypipe irrigation systems, and what it does is it determines the hole sizes along the length of irrigation pipe, thus saving water. So for example, in a field like this where you've got a pump located down here, excuse me, the wind's blowing today, there we are. As the water moves along the pipe, of course you've got more head or more pressure at the start of the line, and as you get to the end you've got less pressure. And as you can see for this field, you've got longer rows at this end. So what pipe planter can do is it can determine the hole sizes to conserve water, because if you were to put the same size hole on every furrow for the whole field, you'd end up putting more water here, and you would be over wetting this part of the field and in order to get this field dry. So what we've run some calculations for different setups, and what we're after is what's called distribution uniformity, and that is, how uniform is the water application over the field. And if you compare using pipe planter to not using it, without using it you get 65% uniformity. If you go to pipe planter, you can get 93% uniformity, and so you can get a significant savings in water, significant savings in energy. And it's an easy to use program, and like I said, NRCS strongly encourages farmers to use pipe planter for those very reasons: conservation of water, conservation of energy, and it helps the farmers make money.
All right, good morning. Today we have a demonstration of no-till soybeans to my left, to conventional till soybeans on my right. We had planted no-till soybeans over here. We used a Liberty Link soybean. All right, and so it has a gene in it to resist the herbicide Liberty, which is Liberty will kill a pigweed where Roundup will not kill a pigweed. Prior to planting, we did do a burn down with Roundup. 2 pints to an acre of Roundup to burn down this side, to burn down all the grasses and weeds on this side, and later on we had the land plane out the levees from the rice field that was here previously the year before. Then we drilled the beans into the soil at 140,000 beans per acre. So we treated it with 2 applications of Liberty. On June the 25th, this field was planted. On July the 1st, we sprayed Liberty at 29 ounces to the acre with prefix on this side. Also on this side, we have conventional beans actually on rows, and they were also drilled in the same day. They had the same treatment of Liberty with the same treatment of prefix also. So the comparison is the no-till flat ground with no rows, just drill into the soil, compared to conventional till where we actually work the soil up, put up rows, and then drill the beans into the row. So you have a difference on controlling your pigweeds. To be perfectly honest, a few pigweeds did come through on the no-till side because the field has actually never been worked up. We just did a burn down. On the side where we actually worked the soil, so far we haven't had any pigweeds come through at all. So that's the kind of comparison on the two types of practices, conventional versus no-till.
Okay, this study is, we are trying to see how a rotation of cover crop followed by cowpeas can be beneficial for dry pea production. So we use cereal rye and crimson cover as the two cover crops. The cereal rye produce a lot of residues, and crimson cover is a legume that will provide nitrogen to the soil. The objective was to try to see whether this system of rotation of cover crop can improve the production of dry cowpeas. This is the first year we tried this, so we'll see how it goes through. We have not harvested, and we'll see how the yield are going to compare.
Rice is a big crop for us in the state of Arkansas, anywhere from around 1.5 million acres plus or minus each year. This is a very crucial location for us, right here close, to be able to do rice weed control work and get needed recommendations to the growers throughout the state. We have a tremendous barnyard grass problem right now in all of our rice acres. This year it's been worse than it has in recent memory, and so we've got a lot of populations in the state that are resistant to some common herbicides that we use for rice production. Sites like this enable us to go out and use different methods, different herbicides to control the barnyard grass species that we have here. And so the focus of these plots behind me is mostly barnyard grass. We're doing some herbicide tolerant stuff as well as some broadleaf weed control, but the big bulk of our program year in and year out is looking at barnyard grass control in rice. This is about 20 acres worth of research that I'm standing in front of right here.
We've been partners with the UAPB Farms here at Lonoke since 1993. We have 5 pine progeny tests that have been established here, which were first generation seedlings that were planted, and we made second generation selections, a multitude of second generation selections from those plantings. And then we have 6 hardwood tests here. This is the only location in the state where we have nut-all oak and sweet gum. We have 5 nut-all oak tests and 1 sweet gum test. And all of these are done as a part of our tree improvement program with the objective of increasing the wood quality and the amount of timber produced for landowners of the state of Arkansas. So that's the purpose of the tree improvement program, which supports our Balcom nursery where landowners can purchase these seedlings.
And today, the field day, what we normally do is to demonstrate the varieties of cowpeas to the farmers so that they can make a choice of what they're going to plant next by looking at this and making some selections. In addition to that, we do give them a list. We go to the stores where they sell seed and give them a list so that they know where to find it and where to buy, I suppose. Now, there are a lot of considerations when we breed or develop varieties for fresh peas. That is, it's a niche market. If you go to the market, you'll find dry peas. A pound of dry peas is about $1.60 some, or just 60 some cents. But fresh peas, really get in the market, is about $4. So it's a high value niche market. So that means that the small farmers, when I say small farmers who have small acreage, can grow just a few acres and still make enough money. And that, of course, it helps keep them on the farm rather than sell. Obviously, they cannot compete with. And here, we have demonstrated 6 varieties. And in all our demonstrations, we put the most popular variety. And in this case, it is a Quick Pick. That's the most popular and established. Now, so we grow that and compare it with others. But we are pleased to say this time that at this time we have developed 2 varieties. You can see the white body there. We call it PB1. And then we also have developed a purple variety, purple hull variety there, which is number 2 from that side. Okay, we might as well just is a PB1 red seed. Then we also introduce varieties which come into the market, even though they are developed by other institutions. For example, we have Mississippi 2, which is at the end there, which has come out recently. Now, comparing that Mississippi 2 and the Quick Pick, I think you can see the differences here. Sorry. Some differences that you find that it's kind of lodging. It is a variety which can run on the ground. Now, you don't want that variety for machine harvest. So we don't do that, use that one. And you can compare these 2, if you get a chance. This is our new variety here. And if you compare with that one, we think obviously we think that is better. It's standing, and you can harvest it with a machine without much problem. And I think, let's see if I can bring another one. Okay, now we said Quick Pick. And so really we have 4 varieties, new varieties here, which we are going to be moving to the public. You know, we are going to release them. But before we do that, we would like to have seed increase to get foundation seed. And we would like to get the help of farmers to determine whether it is a variety that is marketable, according to them. Because people are consumers are very specific in what they want in southern peas. For example, if you have a red seeded, you have a white seeded, and sometimes we have black seeded varieties too here. Most of them prefer this Quick Pick here, which is a pink eye, white pink eye. Look.
What we do every year, we receive planting material for all the varieties that are being developed, and we test them in our conditions, in Arkansas conditions. Every year, newer varieties are being developed, and to ensure that they perform well against the established varieties in the industry, we have to evaluate them in different locations or different areas throughout the country. UAPB takes this task on, and we evaluate those lines at our farms. This year we have it here at Lonoke. Now, new varieties are always being worked on because there are new diseases that come around, new insect pests that come around. So researchers are constantly trying to develop new varieties with different levels of resistance to new diseases and new pests. Also, we're working on new varieties that would have enhanced nutrient content, enhanced flavors, and all the different properties that sweet potatoes are known for.
My name is Manaharan Muthusamy. I'm the interim dean in the School of Agriculture, Fisheries, and Human Sciences, University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. It's my honor and pleasure to welcome you as well as the dignitaries in the podium. We have our Provost and Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, Dr. Robert C. Carr, Jr., Our luncheon speaker, Mr. Mike Sullivan, State Conservationist, USDA NRCS, Little Rock, Arkansas. Ms. Doris Washington, Director, National Water Management Center, USDA NRCS, Little Rock, Arkansas. And the Reverend A.D. Bunch Sr., Pastor, Macedonia Baptist Church, Kelley, I'm sorry. If you look at the program, you all know that the 2018 Lonoke Farm Field Day is dedicated to Albert Eugene Jean Sullivan. Probably many of you know about Mr. Sullivan. He was very active in the community here in Lonoke. After his retirement, Mr. Sullivan was instrumental in helping with the development of the UAPB Lonoke farm. I know Dr. Cole has long association with Mr. Sullivan. Mr. Sullivan, a graduate of the University of Arkansas, served NRCS with distinction. He also served as member of various committees, including the Arkansas Governor's Water Resources Task Force, and chaired the Arkansas Red and White River Interagency Commission. Mr. Sullivan traveled widely, internationally, to countries such as Haiti, Hungary, Argentina, and Bolivia to share his expertise in water resource conservation. In 1990, Mr. Sullivan retired from NRCS as Deputy State Conservationist in California and State Conservationist in Nebraska, Mississippi, and Arkansas. A native of Lonoke, Mr. Sullivan passed away last September. He and his wife, Carrie, had 3 children, and one of them is our luncheon speaker, Mike Sullivan. Mr. Sullivan's bio is printed in the program. Please take time to read his bio. Moving forward with the program, I now invite the Reverend A.D. Bunch Sr. to give invocation.
First, I'd like to say good afternoon to everyone. It is a rainy and sad cool day in the neighborhood, but it's all good. Shall we pray? Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. And thy kingdom come. Will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Lord, we come now to recognize that you've been the great creator that you are. Created everything, and Lord, created the earth and created us. Lord, to God and be stewards over your presence. We ask you now, Lord, you touch every agency represented every day, every farmer, and also, God, those from the community that's represented. We all, dear Lord, will work together to be great stewards and have us be able to God, we thank you now for this moment. I'm here to express the message of Mr. Jesus and his staff, so they will continue, little Lord, as we do the research and the need to inform of different practices and different planning that need to take place at certain times. The Lord, we just thank you one more time for this blessing. And then, please bless the food and the drink of our body. Amen.
Good afternoon. Please continue to enjoy your lunch as we start with our speaker. My name is Robert Carr, and I'm the Provost and Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. I always have to start with a quick story before I get into what I'm getting into. So this morning, when I left, it was raining, and I called Dr. Manahara and I said, do you think we should still have our field day? And Dr. Manahara said, yes, Dr. Carr, we should have it. The rain will be gone by 9 o'clock. And I think those of you that were here heard the Chancellor mention that. And sure enough, the rain was gone by 9 o'clock. And so when I got here, I wanted to get the full experience. So I said, I'm going to go on a tour. And I'm trying to pick from A through E which tour I'm going to go on. And so I chose D. And everything is going really, really well. And we get to the tour, and at the end of it, it starts raining. I think some of you experienced that. And so I said, well, I will remember this day for the wealth of information that I received here, but I also remember that it was wet, and I must always bring an umbrella. Now, one of the things that I try to do is plan. And so I planned an introduction of Mr. Sullivan, and it's not going to do him justice because I had assumed that everything that his bio was in our handout that we gave this morning, and it wasn't. And so now I have to go to plan B. So the introduction will take just a little longer, but we want to do Mr. Sullivan justice. So today I have the honor of introducing Mr. Mike Sullivan, a state conservationist for the state of Arkansas. Currently, Mr. Sullivan works for the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Services. He began his 37-year career. I did say 37, although he doesn't look 37 years old. With NRCS as a student trainee in Lincoln, Nebraska, and later served in several capacities in Arkansas, Mississippi, Arizona, and the national headquarters. Mr. Sullivan earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Civil Engineering from the University of Arkansas and a Master of Business Administration from Arizona State University. Mr. Sullivan served as Mississippi River Basin Coordinator from 2004 to 2009, developing the Mississippi River Healthy Watersheds Initiative, an $80 million per year initiative to improve water quality. That's quite impressive. $80 million a year. Impressive. Enhance wildlife habitat and maintain agricultural productivity in selected watersheds in the Mississippi River Basin. He spent 2 years from 2002 to 2004 as the NRCS National Science Technology Coordinator. Prior to that, he worked for 7 years in Little Rock, establishing and leading the NRCS National Water Management Center, assisting NRCS employees nationwide in addressing complex water resource problems and projects. So as you all can see, Mr. Sullivan, who is an Arkansas native, I believe of North Little Rock, Arkansas, has had a long and illustrious career that includes being the keynote speaker at today's University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff's Lonoke Farm Field Day. So at this time, please join me in welcoming Mr. Mike Sullivan to the podium.
Thank you for that kind introduction, Dr. Carr. And good afternoon to everybody. It's nice to see you again, nice to be back. And I too got caught out in the rain a little bit and was fortunate that I had an umbrella and a poncho. But it made me remember being here, I think, a couple of years ago, and I think that was a really hot one, like 100 degrees or so. And so I'll take this anytime. And nice to see the good crowd. I think it just shows me, Dr. Monoharan, how much interest there is in everything that's going on here. And I know everybody's eating and want to get on to the next thing, so I'm really glad that Doris Washington is following up for me. Doris, if I don't mention anything important, will you please cover it for me? It's a great honor for me to be here also, since this particular field day is dedicated to my dad, so that means a lot as well. So UAPB, others who have worked with the farm, and all the work that's been going on for the last 25 years or so in developing this farm, I'd just like to say first, congratulations. That was a monumental task. If you think about it, we started in the 80s or so with alternative crop technologies. In the 90s and 2000s, we looked at developing the Lonoke farm and what opportunities we might have there. On the NRCS side, we established the Water Management Center, and we've more recently, there's been emphasis on irrigation water management, cover crops, different crop rotations and varieties, and so there has been great progress. We've got a lot to be proud for. We can pat ourselves on the backs, but there's still work to be done. So I was thinking about what might be of interest, and a typical presentation I would go through and talk about the things we're doing in partnership together, and I want to mention some of those, but I also thought it might be good just to share with you a backstory or two related to how some of these things happen from my perspective. So I was, as I recall, and I don't know, Dr. Cole, you're a lot older than I am. You may know this history better than me, but I know that there was discussions going on about this farm and how it could be used, and the role UAPB and others might have, and where this could serve a public good. I was talking with my dad some, because I happened to be working in Arizona at the time, and my father had been state conservationist here up until 1990. He had focused on a number of different issues, mainly water, but also some of the civil rights issues on employment and program delivery, and had been very active that way, and established great relationships with organizations like UAPB and some of the other community-based organizations. And after he retired, he continued to work. He was working with some of the irrigation projects here, large projects that the Corps of Engineers was assisting with. He was a real mover and shaker in helping to get those planned and authorized to be implemented. He was very involved with a number of other different community organizations, state organizations, and also plugged in with our congressional delegation, which at the time provided line item funding for different types of projects. And so he started working with Dr. Cole and UAPB as they thought about this farm. They had a group that developed a vision for the farm with what could be done, and then also establishing something called a small farm outreach, wetland, and water management center. And so you can see that on the sign out there now. I think now it says Pearlie Reed and Robert Cole Small Farm Outreach Center. So we know there's been a lot of work done on Dr. Cole's behalf, or by him. But they identified different things. Dad and his group, he had some folks working with his consulting firm. They did some farm planning. They developed some initial concepts. They collaborated with a number of different groups. They identified funding mechanisms. They provided some technical advice and began identifying some potential demonstrations, research, education, and special studies that could be conducted if this farm were developed. And so At the same time, when I was in Arizona, we were going through an agency reorganization, and a plan had been put forth where we had a series of regional technical centers, and those technical centers had a lot of people in them, and they had kind of developed a little more authority than probably what they needed. And so those centers were all closed, and we established some smaller institutes and centers to work on specific topics. And as I was talking with Dad about that, in fact, I made a trip back in the spring of '95. I remember this because it was Mom and Dad's 40th anniversary. They heard I was coming home, and they thought we were going to give them a surprise anniversary party, but we didn't. I thought they'd be happy just to see me. But we ended up sitting down and talking, and I was telling Dad what was going on within the agency, and he was telling me what was going on within UAPB. And within the agency, what they had set up, they had really left some significant gaps. They didn't really think about the states that had water resource needs, where they could get irrigation water management assistance, agronomic assistance, hydrology assistance if you were having trouble with the groundwater, or even more working on project-related stuff. And so we started talking about that, and some of that related to some of the things they had identified here in Arkansas for the work on the Lonoke farm. And so as we talked about it, we started thinking, well, maybe there's a connection and a fit there. And I think that's part of where this concept for a multi-agency, multi-organizational center focusing on water management, water resource needs came from. So, you know, I was just a little piece of that. Dad was kind of, you know, the orchestrator and communicating with lots of different folks. They ended up putting proposals together on the NRCS side for a water management center. There was also one for developing the Wetlands Water Management Center here at UAPB. Congressman Berry played a pivotal role in ensuring that there was funding available to get things off the ground, and both of the proposals were approved in 1995. I think around November the 1st on the NRCS side, I was selected as the first leader of the center. Alice Weeks and Theotis Bunch, I don't know if either one of them are here, but they started with me, and our challenge was to figure out, working with UAPB's center, how to put this all together and work. So as I was going through some of Dad's stuff recently, I just came across different things that he had worked on, and here's a quick list. Farm shop, greenhouse, drip and sprinkler irrigation system. Some of these things Dad didn't do necessarily. He might have had someone else working with him do, but certainly he or his associates were involved. An education center, irrigation reservoir design, construction, study of bank protection and wave action, tailwater recovery, irrigation studies and recommendations, 5-year plan for the farm, developing and achieving a vision, water use reporting, wetland planning, seed production plots and native grasses, building needs and infrastructure plan. So a lot of those things hopefully would sound familiar to you as to what's going on out here now. So 1996, NRCS entered into a 5-year agreement. Arkansas NRCS entered into an agreement with UAPB for development of the Lonoke farm. The Water Management Center was requested to provide assistance and identification of needs and opportunities. And so we had regular sessions about how can we best support and assist the farmers here in the state and help get things on track in terms of what needs to be done here that would be most beneficial to producers. The Water Management Center was extremely successful. In 1998, its functions were expanded to a national role. And so since then, the center has had that challenge of supporting and assisting the entire United States on the more complex water resource issues and problems. So since then, taking it to the next level, I think we've continued to build on the vision that's been established here, addressing water problems and providing more and better assistance to small farmers. We've continued to work on alternative crop technologies. That's really become a normal part of our everyday business within NRCS anyway. In 2005, we established a soil survey center on the campus of UAPB, which has really helped. It's one of the only areas we have a research authority, but it's really good in terms of connecting UAPB with that research ability and in involving students. In 2010, Arkansas was one of 3 states selected as a pilot state on the Strike Force Initiative. And if you hadn't heard of that, you need to make sure and get with Charlie Williams, because he'll tell you all about it. It's basically how we have worked to change the culture and provide accelerated assistance with the additional extra attention needed in persistent poverty counties. We've seen some really good results there as well. In fact, from our baseline year in 2010, we've increased assistance in those persistent poverty counties by a factor of 10. 10 times the applications for help, 10 times the money. In other words, in 2010, we provided about $3 million in money to producers in these counties, and this last year it's 30 million. So a factor of 10 that we've increased that. We routinely now enter into agreements with UAPB for collaboration and opportunities to work together. And in fact, right now, we have 9 active agreements for working on natural resource concerns and issues, addressing water quality, quantity, plant health, and soil health. Dr. English's small farms programs has pretty much defined working with small producers and farmers, and in this last year I think we've got 60 additional small farmers that have worked with us that never have before because of that agreement. We're working in forestry. We have a Keeping It in the Family project where we're working with small forestry owners to keep forest land in their ownership and where they can use it beneficially. We've also done work with recruitment. We have about 25 employees who went to school at UAPB. A number of others have retired and moved on, and many have gone to other states to work. Let's see, is Jenna here? Jenna Moore? Can you stand up, Jenna? I don't know if she's here or not. She's one that has moved up within our organization, is now our assistant state conservationist for programs. I know she's very connected to this farm personally, and that she lived here for a while. She's Julius's daughter. So Julius, I know you're proud. We continue to recruit the best and brightest, and many of those students come here from UAPB. That continues to be a challenge. We were just talking about that, needing to make sure we have a natural resources curriculum where our students will fully qualify. So I say congratulations. There's a lot of work that's been done. We've got a lot to celebrate, but we're not done yet. We still have problems. We still have a water problem in the state. We're overusing our groundwater by 7 million acre feet per year. We know the solutions. It starts with good conservation on the ground with producers. We're working on some of those technologies together, but it also includes soil health systems and some of the work here with cover crops. You can increase your organic matter and then increase the amount of water that you can hold in the soil and not have to irrigate as much. So doing irrigation is a big part of the solution. The other part is we're overusing the groundwater, but we have excess surface water. We got plenty of rainfall, it just doesn't come at the right time of the year. So we need more irrigation storage reservoirs. We need those irrigation projects to divert surface water so that we can solve the problem completely. We still need to work with small limited resource producers. As Dwayne Goldman has told me time and time again, they're still catching up in terms of the assistance they need to have the infrastructure they need on the land. So that's another area we need to work on. So many of the work much of the work on the farm here has helped to address these things, the soil health, the water quality and quantity, and dealing with the crop varieties. The question I ask now is, what are the issues and concerns for the next decade? I think we need flexibility and to be nimble and make changes where needed. We need the research in the right areas that most helps the producers. And so I think we need to commit to a collective vision to focus on these priority needs and come up with those together. That's going to continue to take us being persistent, passionate, persuasive, and participative. I'm not sure where we're going to end up, but I know I'm enjoying the journey. I look forward to continuing on this journey with you and into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for your great speech. As Mike highlighted, UAPB and NRCS have been collaborating or have established partnership for so many years. And Mike played a crucial and critical role in this partnership. And again, I want to thank Mike for his support to UAPB and for his great speech. Please give another round of applause to Mike. Next, I invite Ms. Doris Washington. Ms. Washington is the Director, National Water Management Center, USDA NRCS, Little Rock, Arkansas. Ms. Washington.
And my remarks will be very brief. Mike, you did a great job. I think you covered it all. The National Water Management Center, as you guys just heard Mike mention, is really a derivative of the partnership of NRCS and the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. We play an integral role in partnering with the university as far as technology is concerned. My staff is here today, and I'd like for them to stand up. You probably saw them out on the tour. They were actually participating doing the pipe planning tour this afternoon. So thank you guys for coming out. I worked at our office in Pine Bluff for a number of years, and I shared earlier with a few folks that I've also didn't get the pleasure of working with Mike's dad, but I did get the pleasure of working with Mike. So a lot of the things that he mentioned over his career, I did have an opportunity to share some of those as an employee of his, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to have worked with him because I really did learn a lot. We do, in fact, still deal with the most complex water management type issues across the nation, but we also have a soft spot for UAPB and for the state of Arkansas. So we do quite a bit of work there, and we usually don't question. If there's a need that's going on around the state dealing with irrigation water management, we're always here to help. And we're looking forward to partnering with UAPB on other projects. We were just talking a few moments ago with Dr. Carr. So as opportunities arise, me and my staff will be available to come out and help. And one last thing, I'm really excited to see the students out this year. I don't think I've quite, this may be the first year that I've seen quite as many out. So that's very exciting because you guys are being exposed to what agriculture really looks like on the ground, and particularly what it looks like here for Arkansas. So we're glad to have you here today, and I'll turn it back over to you.
It's time to acknowledge and appreciate the help we received from many folks in making this event successful. And I want folks to stand up and get recognized. Folks from University of Arkansas Cooperative Extension Service. Anyone from University of Arkansas Cooperative Extension Service? Yes. Thank you. U.S. Corps of Engineers. USDA NRCS. U.S. Geological Survey, Arkansas Game and Fish Commission, Arkansas Forestry Commission, they're all, oh, okay. USDA Farm Service Agency, any state and local officials, okay. UAPB faculty, extension personnel and staff. And finally, UAPB students. Special mention to the people who man the registration desk. You did a great job. All right. Next, I invite Dr. Obadiah Njue, Interim Assistant Dean for Extension, for his closing remarks. Dr. Njue?
Thank you, Dr. Manoharan. Mine is quite an easy one. But before I proceed, I want to request Mr. Hancock, Julius Hancock, will you please stand? Mr. Hancock, excuse me if I don't get the title just right, but Mr. Hancock is a UAPB Lonoke Farm resident director, that's the one, resident director. And I've known Mr. Hancock for the last 11 years that I've been with UAPB now, and he always found him to exceed my expectations in a number of areas. I've worked with him the last few days to get this field day to where it has become, to what it has become today, and he is a hard worker. So Julius, so you know, we really appreciate you. Okay. So along with that, we want to appreciate your crew, all the tractor drivers. You barely saw a fraction of this farm. There's a whole lot more that goes on here than you are able to see today, and it's manned by very few people. So Julius has a crew that works really very hard, and will you please give them a hand of applause? Okay. Now, with that, I want each and every one of you to give yourself a lot of applause. Okay. We were concerned about the weather, and for some time I wondered whether we will get you to the trailers with the rain and everything. But you are believing enough that it will stop raining, that you got on the trailers. Okay, so we thank you for making this field day a success. We invite you next year. We will have a field day, but it will be on our main campus at UAPB. So keep checking with us. And in 2 years, the year after next, we will back here. Okay, you participants who have done a great job, we'll be coming to you again, and certainly we will continue to work with you. We are really very pleased. Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. You did mention that the agency, especially NRCS, absorbs quite a number of our students. Okay, and it just makes me wonder how many of UAPB graduates are working with the agencies that were recognized here. If you don't mind, will you please stand? Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm very proud to see Michelle. Michelle is one of the very recent ones that joined. But thank you so much. Mike, your presentation, it's really challenging to me. I took it as a challenge. And you, Doris, we will continue working with you to make this farm the way it was intended to, and that is to help Arkansans. And with that, we, on behalf of the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, we wish you a very safe journey back, and we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.